Okay, so I was recently talking with one of our friends, and he was describing to me this concept of decision fatigue, and basically about how, like, all day long we're making a bunch of, like, micro choices that end up causing this fatigue, and by the end of the day, we're, like, don't have our best stuff to give to, like, important decisions. So he's, like, totally carved out his day so that, like, everything is, like, built in. It's already made the decision for him. Like, he knows what he's gonna have for breakfast. He has his clothes laid out, all this kind of stuff, like, preserving this energy around making a decision. And each of us are faced with decisions on a regular basis, but I'm thinking, like, what do we do with those mega life decisions? Like, I work with our college young adults here, and like, where am I going to go to school? What do I want to do for my job? There's questions of like, how many kids do we want in our family? There's questions of, what do I do when I retire? When do I want to retire? Should we live here? Should we move? Should we move to be by our kids? Should we stay? And even the concept of staying and doing the same thing, even that's a choice. And we're tasked with these big decisions, and I just have kind of been thinking about the process of like, okay, so what do I want? What do I want to do? And then even like, hopefully, like in my heart of hearts, I'm like, well, even asking the question like, what does God want me to do with my life? And we're forced to ask these big questions about how we spend our lives. I had the amazing opportunity to get to go on a trip with my husband, and we were visiting the second most visited site in the entire world. Trivia, can you guess what it is? It was the Colosseum. So we were in Italy. The first one, by the way, this is your trivia fact, Great Wall of China. Okay. So we stood in the Colosseum in a place where it's been used for many different things, and for thousands of years. This was built by the Romans, and there's just a ton of history that comes out of this very specific place. It was built off of the riches of Jerusalem, the temple being captured, Rome bringing all of the riches and the gold back from the temple and building this place that then they would one day stand there and they would martyr Christians. They would kill Christians. And even in light of what's happening in the world today, we kind of were asked this question, like, what is this life? Like, what's it about? And what is this faith that we have? Obviously, it's something that's worth dying for. And yet I'm over here in 21st century America asking the questions of like, should I move here? Should I stay here? What do I want to, we're asking these questions about our really specific little lives. And there was something really profound about standing in the Colosseum and thinking about the history that's happened and how my life is so small. And yet also kind of being forced with, but I hope that I can use it in a way that at least matters and contributes to something bigger than myself. And then we're here in this book of James, and I think that there is a word for us that we can all be considering as we're in this place of considering our life, considering the decisions that we make on a regular basis, and even these big life decisions. And here in James chapter 4, it says this: "Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this city or that city, spend a year here, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow." It says this. Gut check. Okay. "What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if this is the Lord's will, we will live to do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil." And standing there in this world history site visited place, feeling that my life is so small. My challenge for you today as we consider these decisions that we're making on a daily basis, what's the kind of question that we're backing up that question with? What's the question that when we say like, okay, well, actually in perspective, my life is so small. It's just a vapor in the wind. It's here today. It's gone tomorrow. It's basically like, it just vanishes so quick. And the question that comes right after he says that is, instead you have to say, if it is the Lord's will. And as we sit in this moment in history, instead of thinking, what do I want? How do I want this to look? What's the perfect plan? Opening ourselves up to considering, God, what is the will that you have for me? Would it be about something much bigger than what I want and what my dreams are? But God, actually submit that to you in this big scheme of the world and the history and the redemption that you're causing. God, how can I say yes to your very will?